OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman has been in the center of some enormous deals recently. Whether it's $300 billion with Oracle, a $100 billion investment from Nvidia, or the tens of billions committed to AMD, he's certainly been a busy boy of late. Check out this clip as he drops some more nuggets on them.
You know, in the last few weeks alone, you mentioned AMD, but also Oracle, Nvidia. You've chosen to strike these deals and partnerships with companies that you collaborate with, but could also potentially compete with in certain areas. How do you decide, you know, when to collaborate versus when not to, or how do you just think about?
We have decided that it is time to go make a very aggressive infrastructure bet. And we're like, I've never been more confident in the research roadmap in front of us and also the economic value that'll come from using those models. But to make the bet at this scale, we kind of need the whole industry or a big chunk of the industry to support it. And this is like, you know, from the level of like electrons to model distribution and all the stuff in between, which is a lot. And so we're going to partner with a lot of people. You should expect like much more from us in the coming months.
Actually, expand on that, because when you talk about the scale, it does feel like in your mind, the limit on it is unlimited. Like you would scale it as you know, as big like as you possibly could.
There's totally a limit. Like there's some amount of global GDP.
Yeah. Well,
and, you know, there's some fraction of it that is knowledge work, and we don't do robots yet.
Yes.
But
the limits are out there.
It feels like the limits are very far from where we are today. Yeah. If we are right about, so I shouldn't say from where we are, like, if we are right that the model capability is going to go where we think it's going to go, then the economic value that sits there can go very, very far.
Right. So you wouldn't do it, like if all you ever had was today's model, you wouldn't go there. But
no,
so
definitely
it's a combination.
I mean, we would still expand because we can see how much demand there is we can't serve with today's model, but we would not be going this aggressive if all we had was today's model.
Right.
Yeah. Right. We get to see a year or two in advance, though. So
yeah. Interesting.
ChatGPT is 800 million weekly active users, about 10% of the world's population, fastest growing consumer product, you know, ever, it seems. How do
faster than anyone I ever saw.
Yeah. How do you balance, you know, optimizing for active users at the same time being being a product company and a research company? How do you throw the
when there's a constraint, we almost which happens all the time, we almost always prioritize giving the GPUs to research over supporting the product. Part of the reason we run and build this capacity so we don't have to make such painful decisions. There are weird times, you know, like a new feature launches and it's going really viral or whatever, where research will temporarily sacrifice some GPUs. But on the whole, like, we're here to build AGI, and research gets the priority.
Yeah. You said in your interview with your brother Jack around how, you know, other companies can try to imitate the products or buy your, you know, or hire your
buy your IP, maybe.
Yeah. All sorts of things. But they can't buy the culture, or they can't imitate the sort of repeatable sort of, you know, machine, if you will, that is, you know, constantly the culture of innovation. How have you done that, or what are you doing? Talk about this culture of innovation.
This was one thing that I think was very useful about coming from an investor background. A really good research culture looks much more like running a really good seed stage investing firm and betting on founders and sort of that kind of than it does like running a product company. So I think having that experience was really helpful to the culture we built.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of how I see, you know, Ben at ACZ in some ways, which we, you know, you're a CEO, but you also have, you know, have this portfolio and, you know, have an investor mindset.
Right. Like I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
CEO going to investor. He's investor going to CEO.
Yeah. It is unusual in this direction.
Yeah. Well, it never works. You're the only one who I think I've seen go that way and have it work.
Workday was like that, right?
But Anil was, he was an operator before he was an investor. And I mean, he was really an operator. I mean, PeopleSoft was a pretty big
And why is that? Because once people are investors, they don't want to operate anymore?
No, I think that investors, generally, if you're good at investing, you're not necessarily good at like organizational dynamics, conflict resolution, like just like the deep psychology of like all the weird shit, and then, how politics get created. There's just like all this, there's the detailed work in being an operator or being a CEO is so vast, and it's not as intellectually stimulating. It's not something you can ever go talk to somebody at a cocktail party about. And so like you're an investor, you get like, oh, everybody thinks I'm so smart. And, because you know everything, you see all the companies and so forth. And that's a good feeling. And then being CEO is often a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to go to a good feeling to a bad feeling, I would just say.
I'm shocked by how different they are, and I'm shocked by how much the difference between a good job and a bad job they are.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's tough. It's rough. I mean, I can't even believe I'm running the firm. Like, I know better.
Yeah.
And he can't believe he's running OpenAI. He knows better.
Going back to progress today, are evals still useful in a world in which they're getting saturated, gamed? Are they still what is the best way to gauge model capability now?
Well, we're talking about scientific discovery. I think that'll be an eval that can go for a long time. Yeah. Revenue is kind of an interesting one. Yeah. But I think the like static evals of benchmark scores are less interesting.
Yeah.
And also those are crazily gamed.
Yeah. More broadly, it seems like
that's all they are is games, as far as I can tell you.
More broadly, it seems that the culture, Twitter, X, is less AGI pilled than it was a year or so ago when the AI 2027 thing came out. Some people point to GPT-5, them not seeing sort of the obvious. Obviously, there were a lot of progress that, in some ways, under the surface, are not as obvious to what people were expecting. But should people be less AGI pilled, or is this just Twitter vibes and?
Well, a little bit of both. I mean, I think like we talked about the Turing test, AGI will come. It will go whooshing by.
Yeah.
The world will not change as much as the impossible amount that you would think it should.
AGI
right. It won't actually be the singularity.
It will not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's like doing kind of crazy AI research, like the society will learn faster. But one of the kind of like retrospective observations is people and society as a whole are just so much more adaptable than we think, that, it was like a big update to think that AGI was going to come. You kind of go through that. You need something new to think about. You make peace with that. It turns out like it will be more continuous than we thought.
OpenAI is making an unprecedented infrastructure investment based off confident visibility into future model capabilities, not current models alone. Sam Altman states, "We've decided that it's time to go and make a very aggressive infrastructure bet. I've never been more confident in the research roadmap in front of us, and also the economic value that will come from using these models." Sam clarifies the strategy. "We still need to expand because we can see how much demand there is. We can't serve with today's model, but we would not be going this aggressive if all we had was today's model right now. We get to see a year or two into the future as well." This reveals something critically important that most investors and observers miss. OpenAI isn't betting billions on infrastructure based on what GPT-4 or current models can do. They're betting based on what they can see coming in their research pipeline 1 to 2 years out. This is a massive distinction because it means the capabilities that will justify this spending haven't been publicly released yet. When Sam says, "I've never been more confident in the research roadmap," he's looking at internal models and research that nobody outside of OpenAI has seen yet. This forward visibility gives OpenAI enormous conviction to make what he calls an aggressive infrastructure bet that requires the whole industry or big chunk of the industry to support. The scale Sam's talking about spans from the level of electrons to model distribution and all the stuff in between, meaning everything from power generation to data centers to chip supply to software distribution networks. This isn't a small bet, it's restructuring of their entire technology stack at a scale that requires industry-wide partnerships. The economic value is also critical. Sam isn't just confident the models will get better technically, he's confident in the economic value that will come from using the models. This means they validated that future models will drive revenue and economic impact large enough to justify the infrastructure investment. When Sam says the economic value that sits there can go very, very far, he's seeing use cases and revenue potential that current models can't address, but future models will unlock. For Sam to say they would not be going this aggressive if all we had was today's model is remarkably honest and important. It confirms that AI capabilities, while impressive, are not sufficient to justify the scale of spending we're seeing. But OpenAI can see what's coming next, and that's what's driving the investment. This also means the public is always looking at yesterday's technology, while companies like OpenAI are building for tomorrow's. The 1 to 2 year advantage visibility is a structural advantage. Most people judge AI's progress by what's publicly available now, GPT-5, Claude, etc. But OpenAI's researchers are working on models that are significantly more capable that won't be released for a year or more. This creates an information gap where OpenAI can make confident infrastructure bets that look aggressive or even reckless to outside observers who can't see what's in the pipeline. The need for industry-wide support also reveals the scale. OpenAI can't build this infrastructure alone. They need partnerships with chip manufacturers like NVIDIA and AMD, cloud providers, power companies, networking infrastructure providers, and more. And also the fact that Sam said you should expect much more from us in the coming months suggests a wave of partnership announcements coming, each representing another piece of infrastructure puzzle. This coordinated industry build-out is reminiscent of major technological shifts like the move to mobile or cloud computing, where multiple companies had to invest simultaneously to create the ecosystem. The demand signal is also telling. Sam mentions we can see how much demand there is we can't serve with today's model. This means OpenAI is currently constrained. They have more customer demand than they can fill with existing infrastructure. This is the best problem to have as a company because it means you're not building speculative capacity hoping customers will come. You're building to meet proven existing demand that's already exceeding supply. Combined with visibility into much better future models, this creates a very high, confident investment thesis. We have more demand than we can serve today, and we know future models will create even more demand. So we need to build massive infrastructure now to capture that opportunity. When a CEO says they've never been more confident while simultaneously making the biggest bet in the company's history, that's conviction you rarely see and based on information the rest of us don't have access to. If you found this video of value at all, why not consider hitting subscribe? Cheers.